Welcome. This video concerns two-step equations. So we're going to learn how to model and solve two-step equation. So let's look at this. It says model and solve for x. -5 is equal to or is equivalent to x minus 2. This is a one-step equation. So this is what we learned earlier in the year. This is a 6th grade topic. Two-step equation is a 7th grade topic. So let me get my calligraphy. Oh, no, I don't need a calligraphy pen. I'm going to be using modeling. So I need to model -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is equal to x minus 2. So let me get my calligraphy pen. Equal. I am solving for x. Again, I need to isolate x. How am I going to isolate x? So to isolate x, I need to figure out how to get rid of -2. Do you remember something called zero pairs? So if I put a +2, if I do the inverse of -2, it's +2. Don't forget to balance it on the other side. So I need to add 2 positive on both sides. These are zero pairs. These are zero pairs. So x is equal to -3. Let's go back and check our work. So I substitute x with -3. And what is -3 minus 2? -5 is equal to -5. Check and check. So let's practice one more example of one-step equation before we start our two-step equations. So we have 3x, 1, 2, 3, is equal to -12. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So each x will equal to how many negatives? I want to solve for x. So this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one. So what I am is I'm dividing the 12 negatives into 3 groups. And so each x is equal to -4. X is equal to -4. Let's check our work. Substitute the x with -4. What is 3 groups of -4? -12. Is -12 equal to -12? Yes, it is. Now that we have the basis of a one-step equation, modeling a one-step equation, now we can talk about how to model two-step equation. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the variable x tile by adding the necessary tiles to each side. Name the equation and check your work in the space on the right. So we have 2 x's, we have -3, and we have a 3. I'm going to write this equation on the side. 2 x's minus 3 equal 3. All right, so we're modeling this. How can I isolate these x? I need to do the inverse of -3 with +3. I balance it on the other side. What happens here? I need to cancel these out. So what I have here is 2 x's equals 6. 2x equals 6. But again, I am solving for x. So each x, so I need to divide these 6 into 2 equal groups. So x is equal to 3. Let's check our work. Write the equation. Done. Substitute your answer for x. 2 groups of 3 minus 3 equals 3. Solve both sides. What's 2 groups of 3? 6 minus 3 equals 3. Are both sides equal? 3 equals 3. Check mark. Another way we could have done it is we could check it this way. So we have, let's go back to the original equation. 2x minus 3 equals 3. If each x equals 3, I replace this x with 3. I replace this x with 3. these zero out, zero out, zero out. Does 3 equals 3? It does. Check mark. Let's model another two-step equation. I see 3x's, I see 2 positives, which is equivalent to 4 negatives. So our equation is 3x's plus 2 positive equals 4 negatives. So isolate the variable x by adding the necessary tiles to each side. What is the inverse of plus 2 or positive 2? It is negative 2. Balance it on the other side. These cancel. These cancel. So we have 3x's is equivalent to 6 negatives. So I need to isolate the variable x. Can I divide these 6 negatives into 3 groups? So if I divide these 6 negatives into 3 groups, each group will have 2 negatives. X is equal to negative 2. Let's check our work. This is our equation. I need to substitute for x with negative 2. 3 groups of negative 2. Solve both sides. 3 groups of negative 2 is negative 6 plus 2. On the other side is negative 4. This is negative 4 equals negative 4. Both sides are equal. Next example. We have negative 3 is equivalent to 2 plus 2x's. Let's model this. I need to isolate these variable x. What is the inverse? What do I need to add in order to isolate these x? What's the inverse of plus 2? Negative 2. Don't forget to balance it on the other side. So these cancel, 0 pairs. So we have 2 x's and we have 5 negatives. So how many negatives will go if I had to divide these 5 negatives into 2 groups? Dot, 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 dot. For this last negative, what do I need to do? I need to split it in half. So each x is equal to negative 2 and a half, or negative 2.5. Let's see if this is correct. Negative 3 is equal. I substitute the x with negative 2.5. Solve both sides. 2 plus, what's 2 groups of negative 2.5? Negative 5. And what is 2 plus negative 5? Negative 3. Both sides are equal. Next one. Now this is where it gets a little more difficult now. We have negative 2x plus 3 equals negative 3. I need to isolate x. What is the inverse of plus 3? Negative 3. I need to balance it on the other side. Cancel, 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 cancel. So how am I going to split these negative 6's? Well, first of all, let's stop. Am I solving for x? I am solving for x. So how am I going to solve for x? With modeling, you turn these over. So negative 2x, if I flip it around, the opposite of negative 2x is 2x. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So now, how many ones positive go to each x? 3. So x equals 3. So what I did is I did the opposite of negative x to x. Another way I could have done it was this way. This is another way I could have done it. Or maybe you may have preferred it this way. Let me take all these away. This is another way I could have done it. So we had this. You could do it this way. How many negatives go to each negative x? 3 of them. So negative x equals negative 3. I want to solve for x, so I switch this. I turn it over with this, and that's where I get x equals 3. So let's check our work. -2 times 3 plus 3 equals -3. Let's solve both sides. -2 times 3 is -6 plus 3 equals -3. And -3 equals -3. Check mark. Next one. Can you model the equation 4x, 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x plus 5, 1, 2, whoops, 3, 4, 5 equals 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need to isolate the variable x. What is the inverse? So here's x. I need to isolate these. What's the inverse of plus 5? -5. Don't forget to balance it on the other side. So all of these 0 pair out. All of these 0 pair out. So each x, let's divide these 4 positives into 4 groups. So each x is equal to 1. To check your work, substitute the answer for x. 4 ones plus 5 equal 9. What's 4 groups of 1? 4. And what is 4 plus 5? 9 equals 9. Check mark. Next one. Please model this equation. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equals 2x, -2. I need to isolate x. What is the inverse of -2? +2, +2. So these 0 pair out. So how many positives will go? I need to divide these positives into 2 groups. Uh-oh, extra 1, divide this in half. So each x is equal to 3.5 or 3.5. Let's check our work. 5 equals, substitute the x with 3.5 or 3 and 5 tenths, minus 2. 2 groups of 3.5 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5. 5 equals 5. Check mark. Next one. We have 5x, 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x with -2, -1, -2 equals 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to isolate x. So how do I isolate x? I need to do the inverse of -2 with +2. Don't forget to balance it on the other side. These cancel. So I have a lot of positives. How many positives do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need to divide these 10 positive into how many groups? 5 groups. So each x will take 2 positives. So x equals 2. Let's check our work. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 2 equals 8. 8 equals 8. Check mark. And our last example, we have -2x plus 4 equal 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to isolate the x's with -4. Don't forget to balance it on the other side. So what happens to these? These will cancel. These will 0 pair out. So we have 4 positives. But again, I'm solving for x. I am not solving for -x. How can I model x instead of -x? I flip them over because they are double-sided. So I flip it over to 2x's equals -4. So I need to divide these 4 negatives into 2 groups. So x is equal to -2. Let's check our work. I substitute for x. -2 times -2 is 4. And 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 equals 8 is check mark. So what we just did is we model how to um, solve how to model and solve two steps equation, and we also check their work. So what you have to first do is you need to isolate x by doing the inverse, and then you do the inverse operation for both sides. Then you cancel, and then you're dividing it into different groups.